Good morning. Have you ever wondered or tried to perfect that Southern style biscuit? Your grandmother or your mother may have easily done it every single day. You didn't really see it happen because they did it before you woke up. Well, over the years, I have tried to do that, and I got very tired of the mess that it made. My surface would be covered in flour. I would have flour strewed everywhere. I would try to mix the dough up correctly, work it, roll it out, cut it, get them off of that surface onto the pan. It was just a big mess. So I think that I have figured out an almost foolproof method after you've done it a few times, and it's 3 ingredients. So today I want to demonstrate how to make the iron skillet drop biscuit. What you're going to need is gather your materials. This is a iron skillet biscuit pan. You can get them from Amazon. I'm sure you can get it from the Lodge store, but right now you'd have to order it. You're going to need flour. You're going to need cooking oil, buttermilk, a mixing bowl, and you will need a couple of measuring spoons, a tablespoon and a teaspoon. And I already have my flour pre-measured, but you'll need a measuring cup to get 2 cups of flour. So let's go ahead and get started with our cooking process. The first thing that you want to do is you've got to prepare your pan. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the teaspoon and you're going to put approximately a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of cooking oil in each of these biscuit slots. You can go a little over if you want to. It doesn't really matter because it's not going to soak into the biscuit. It's really going to cause that very crispy layer on the outside as it cooks. Now once you've done this, mix it around, like move your pan so that all of the bottom of each of these slots is covered in oil. And now what we're going to do is we're going to place them in the oven. Now it's a cold oven, and we're going to put it on the bottom rack. And we're going to set our oven to 450 degrees. Okay, the reason for that is you want your pan to come up to temperature, but you also want that oil hot enough to where when you pour the biscuit batter in, it is going to create a sizzle, which is going to give you that outside crusty layer and crispy that everybody loves so much. So make sure you put it in a cold oven and start it on the bottom, closest to the elements. And some ovens heat up quicker than others, the newer ones, so it might not actually have time to get that oil as hot as it needs to be. So if I were you, put it in and set a timer for 15 minutes. Now, it takes about 15 minutes for that oil to get to that temperature where it will sizzle whenever you put the batter in. So while we're waiting on that to take place, we're going to go ahead and mix our batter up. So I've got a mixing bowl just big enough for the 2 cups of flour that we're going to use. We're going to pour the flour in. Now I want to make a side note here. This is self-rising flour, and I know that your package says pre-sifted, but you need to sift it again. That's just something that I've always been told to do, and it seems to make the biscuits fluffier and you don't get too much flour in your mixture because the flour is not light enough. So we've got our 2 cups of flour, and now here we're going to need our tablespoon, and we're going to put in 4 tablespoons of oil. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the ratio here is 1 tablespoon per half cup of flour. So if you want to cut down your recipe, you can always just take out a whole cup of flour and just put 2 tablespoons of oil if you just want to make a half a pan of biscuits or something. Okay, so our buttermilk is the next thing we're going to add. And I've measured out 1 1/4 cups. Typically, I don't measure this. I just pour until the mixture looks right to me because I'm so used to making them. But I think this is close enough and it will get you that right biscuit mixture. So we're going to pour that in. And we're just going to mix it until it is very smooth. We don't want to have any lumps left over, but do not use a blender or a mixer because that will create too smooth of a mixture and I don't think that it'll cook correctly. So just stir, stir, stir until this is completely smooth. And sometimes maybe you've measured out a little bit extra flour than what you were supposed to when you scooped it out, and you might have to add just a little bit more buttermilk to make it the right texture. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like when it's mixed fully. Okay, so here it is. It looks about like this. It'll come off the spoon. It's not watery or runny. It's still got that thick consistency, but it's not like a batter that you would try to make into a dough and work with your hands. It's just gonna be runny like that. Okay, so we've got our batter ready to go, and now we just have to wait on our oven to come to temperature. Okay, it's been the 15 minutes. We're going to carefully remove the pan from the oven. It will be extremely hot, so be very careful. Now, we're going to add the batter to the pan by spoonfuls. Just your regular serving spoon. Should create a sizzle. Yes. You're going to want to start out with 1 spoonful in each section, making sure you get it all the way across the bottom. Once you've put that spoonful in, you might still have a little batter left, so just distribute it evenly throughout each one. Doesn't really matter if some are bigger or smaller, they'll just cook a little bit different. One might be a little bit more done than the others. I just try to get it as even as possible. And use up all that batter so that you've got more biscuit dough. Okay. So now we've got it done. As you can see, I've got them all filled and they're still sizzling. So we want to keep that hot. Put it in your oven. This time on the middle rack so they'll cook evenly, and set a timer for about 10 minutes. They usually cook 10 to 12 minutes in my oven, so I know different temperatures in different ovens. So we'll go with 10 minutes. we'll check them in 10 minutes. Okay, timer's about to go off. It's been 10 minutes. At this point, I'm gonna look at them and see if they're brown enough for our family's liking. If not, I will broil them for just a few seconds. As you can see, they're pretty white on top still, so I'm gonna broil them for just maybe 30 seconds or a minute. During this time, you don't want to walk away from the oven because you're probably going to let them burn. Because you're like me, you're going to multitask and then you'll forget that they're on broil. So watch them closely. Ta-da! They were done at 10 minutes. But like I said, to your liking, leave them in on a broil setting until they get the color that you want them to be. Now just take a knife of some sort or a fork, stick in the side to get them out. Now these are going to be really hot. I just want to show you what they look like. This, they got the crispy bottom, the top, the color you want them. Now my family, some of them like butter and some of them don't. So you can cut these things in half, put a couple pads of butter in there, or just put some on the top so that you've got that butter flavor, but nobody really knows that it's there. So I hope you have found that this recipe seems as easy and as messless as I do, that you'll use it every day or for supper time as a side. You can cook biscuits whenever you want to without that floured mess all in your kitchen. So I hope you enjoy.